So welcome everybody to the second hour of MindShifters Radio, and today is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. Press 1, that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And give Michael a moment to dial in, and welcome to those in the chat room and on the switchboard. And apologies, trying to get everything turned on here. I was downstairs. Okay, so I'll be putting some more pictures up. Yesterday we had Aria all day. She was out of school for Labor Day, and one of the things we did was before she went home yesterday evening, we went up to the flower garden, and I let her pick out which ones, and I clipped off stems of different flowers, and we made a bouquet for her mom and dad. So that was a lot of fun, and we built another bird feeder, and we did all kinds of things yesterday. So it was a full day, and I pick her up this afternoon after school, so here we go again. So she definitely keeps us rocking, and she is a joy. So anyway, if you see anything on the website that's not working, I actually got a notice that some of the links were broken, and so I went out and fixed those this morning and redirected some pages that were still going to an old page, and so hopefully I got them all fixed. But if you were scanning around the website and you come across something that's not working, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, @whyagain.org, and let me know, and I will get it corrected. And I appreciate your help in that. There's a lot of pages, and we've made a lot of changes, and can't quite keep up with all of them. I attempt to, but I don't. So anyway, and Michael and I will be going on vacation. We're leaving Saturday, and we're headed to the beach. I am really looking forward to that time, just to chill out. So we will be playing shows all next week. So if you have any questions, please click on one and ask them this week, because we will not be on live broadcast next week. And Dr. Tim, if you're still listening, I will send you a list of what shows to play, and we hope that you enjoy those. We always attempt to pick out some of the best of the shows. I will tell you ahead of time we're going to be doing the communication, which is actually a live workshop. We'll be putting the audios of those communication. Did you hear what I think I said? Part 1 and Part 2, and then will be 2 of the shows are similarities to AA and the 12-step programs. I've had several people that I've worked with this week or this past week, and they're involved in the AA groups, and we're asking questions about that. So we'll be playing 2 shows of that, and then the Kabor show. And so please tune in and listen to those. They are some of the best videos. Of course, we feel that way about all of them, but anyway, if you're listening on another station where I can't see you on the switchboard, call in to 563-999-3581, and you can listen to the show that way, or you can press 1 and it puts up a hand, and I know that you want to talk to us, and we would love to hear from you. So, let's see if Michael is on yet. Not quite. Okay. We'll give him just another moment. And if you have a comment, I went out and looked on the email this morning, and I didn't have any questions from the app. If you're using the app and something comes up, then let's see, somebody just texted me. Let me make sure it's not somebody on the show. No, it's not. Sometimes if a hand is already up, I don't know if it's left over from Dr. Tim or a new hand. So anytime that happens, you can drop me a line and just say, my hand's up again, and I will turn your microphone back on. But anyway, if you've been using the app, you'll notice that on every page there is a button that you can click and ask a question, whether it's about the step that you're on in the app or whether it's about something else. And I'll get an email with that question. We'll address it on the next radio show, and I'll drop you a line and let you know what day and time that we addressed your question. If you've not been using the app, you can, if you go to the website, whyagain.org, and click on Start Here, the first things that come up on that page is a link to the current 7-step worksheet and the short worksheet. And then there are 2 videos. One of them kind of gives instructions or guidance on how to navigate the website and where you'll find all the different things on the website. And the second one is how you can navigate the app itself. And so those are out there just to help you if you're not familiar with the process. It will help you to get through it easier. And then, of course, you scroll down and there's all the different worksheets. And I see Michael has joined us, so I'm going to say welcome, Michael. Hello, Michael. He's showing up on the switchboard, but I do not hear his voice. You're not in. I can hear you talking through the wall, but not on the phone.
Can hear you through the wall, but not through the window?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's amazing how it helps if I take off my mute button. That's a miracle. It's amazing. So, welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here. Delighted to take this conversation to the next level. You know, after our show yesterday and the conversation we had, I had the inclination to pick up a video by a NASA scientist, quantum physicist, and if you want to look up that video and give it a listen, it's really very interesting. But he leaves everything with a big question, and the title, if you look for it on YouTube, is NASA, NASA, quantum physicist, proves we live in a conscious simulation. NASA quantum physicist proves we live in a conscious simulation. And in essence, and if you look at, you know, the conversation we had yesterday, the foundation for where I want to go with this, we were looking at how we have the ability to change. Really, what I'm realizing after listening to this quantum physicist scientist talk, although he doesn't use these words, I'm realizing that the substrate of the universe is thought. I'm just capturing that on a whole new level. And he goes through, basically he talks about, you know, the days of Heisenberg and Einstein and how they did the bomb and quantum physics, and what they realized is, and basically what they said is, well, we've just blown apart the world of matter. The world of matter doesn't exist. It's a total error. Matter is a major error, period. And then he goes on, talks about it for a while. Then he comes back to it. He's like, yeah, and then they changed their mind because they didn't have anything to replace it with. So they stopped saying that, and they said, well, it's just spooky physics. We don't know. It's like, but it's not material. And if only they had the first century Aramaic Yeshua, they'd have the key to the whole game. I mean, you know, a short time after the 1945 atom bomb game, if they'd had Yeshua, the physicist would have understood the world, and we would not be anywhere near where we're at today. So when you get to the observer effect, and I don't think physicists yet understand the observer effect. I had the privilege, about 3 decades ago, I used to speak at a conference called Global Sciences, and I've shared this many times, but a gentleman, Marcel Vogel, showed up with his Delaware camera, and basically what Marcel showed us was pictures of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think of thought. Now, if science understood that piece of information, if they could put that one together with what else they know, then they'd realize the reason why something is only a potential, it's a wave, it collapses, they say, when it's measured, but actually what happens is it collapses when it interacts with the mind energy. When we add the mind energy to this quantum potential, think about it, there are a trillion possibilities, and what it takes is an intersect with the mind energy of a creator, then of those trillion possibilities, the energy, listen to the opening words in the book of John, and you got the whole key. In the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. It doesn't say in the beginning was the Word, and it doesn't have anything to do with the man named Yeshua. No, the churchianity has made that word mean Jesus or Yeshua, and it doesn't. What it says is, in the beginning was, there are actually two proper translations from the Aramaic. It says, in the beginning was the willed action, or in the beginning was the mind energy. So a trillion possibilities, a trillion potentials, and that's why they say until somebody measures it, until somebody interacts with it and adds the energy to it, it doesn't collapse and become what we call a particle. It's only potential. And underlying it all, everything that comes into our what we call manifest world, and it's interesting in the Aramaic language, the word manifest simply means obvious. Whatever is obvious to you. If it's obvious to you that you always get picked on when you enter this circumstance, guess what happens? Out of the trillion possible ways you could be treated, you'll get picked on. Because that's the creative process. That's the energy you will add to the quantum potential. So the substrate of the universe, yes, we have these energetic patterns, and then we have the ability through resonance, through sending out these high energy waves, to cause this one potential to become expressed in what we call the physical world. And of course, the physical world is nothing but a picture our minds show us. Think about the example we've used before of a person from the jungles that we bring to the tarmac to stand in front of the airplane with its four propellers spinning. Now, we know that the airplane propellers are four arms spinning around a pivot point. We all know that. But the man from the jungles doesn't know that. And if the airplane has its engine started and we bring him and stand him in front of the airplane, he looks at it and he goes, oh, four shiny silver discs. His mind, literally because it can't keep up with the rate of spin of those propellers, shows him something that absolutely is not there. Nothing you can see with your eyes is there. Nothing. Is there something there? Yes. Oh, believe me, if he decided he wanted to see what the friction felt like on his fingertips and he reached out, he wouldn't feel what the friction was on his fingertips because it's not a shiny silver disc. It would chop his fingers off. Yes, there's something there. Is there a dresser in front of you? Yes, there is a dresser there. If you bump into it, ouch. Your brain generates is just an approximation. It's just its best guess about what the actuality is. And the picture of it being solid is nothing but a construct of the mind. There is no solid. Let's bring Einstein back in here again. If you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. What's the optical delusion? Perception, an image generated by the brain. You've never seen anything with your eyes. You will never see anything with your eyes. The eye is a receiving antenna that's attuned to a certain frequency called light. Information is carried on that light energy. No different than your TV set, except the frequency range. If you've got a UHF receiver, there's a frequency we call ultra-high frequency. Superimposed on that ultra-high frequency carrier wave is information. Your radio or your TV, whatever the device is, decodes and feeds you that information. So light is a carrier wave for information. It hits the eye. Can you look out through the eye? Not in a billion years you can't. Now, that's what we all believe. That's what we've all been taught, because that's what perception tells us, and perception is a liar. It presents nothing as it actually is. So whatever constructs your mind is making up out of the information it's taken in, when stimulated into activity by an event in the world, is simply resonating what's in you, relating to that event. And the reason why forgiveness is such a profoundly powerful gift is because no matter what your drama, your trauma, your fear, your terror, whatever it happens to be, it's nothing but a frequency read by the mind. It's nothing but information, and the mind has this amazing ability. It's a converter device. It converts mind energy, thoughts, into pictures. So information comes into your eye via light. The light is the carrier wave. The information is the varying frequencies carried by the light. And according to what that resonates in you, your brain generates a construct, its best guess about what's actually out there. That's why we create this distinction of reality versus actuality. Reality is nothing but the output of your mind. Actuality is what's there. So as this gentleman was talking, it's like the substrate of the universe, the underlying architecture of what we call the world is your mind. Your mind is the underlying architecture of your world. My mind is the underlying architecture of my world. If the architecture of my world's different from yours, we'll both be at the same event, and I'll have one experience and you'll have a totally different one. And we may decide to argue it over because mine must be right and yours must be wrong. Not so. The underlying architecture of each person's world is the mind energy that they hold. Now, there are certain qualities of experience that are just total, complete trash. And the trash comes from the architecture of our own minds, the mind energy we hold. Literally right down to the diseases in your so-called body. Remember, mind energy, 2,000 years ago in Aramaic, Yeshua gave us a crisp, clear picture. Mind energy becomes flesh. The architecture that your flesh hangs on are the thoughts in your mind. And there are, relative to your energy system, whatever aspect of your energy system you're looking at, your physiology, your emotions, your finances, your relationships, your health, or your diseases, that directing energy that the whole thing hangs on is your mind energy. And then when they say to Yeshua, well, you know, what's most important in all of this law you're telling us? Well, wait a minute. Law doesn't mean the rule of a superior and you better obey or you're going to hell. Law in Aramaic is just the way it works. So he says, here's how it works. Mind energy becomes flesh. And they said, well, what's most important in all of this? Is here it is. You must have, no, we don't even have a word for this in English. There is no word in Greek. There is no word in Latin. And that's where we get our Aramaic ideas. Yeshua would sit in most churches today and say, that's all Greek to me. When they ask him what's most important, he says, here it is. If you want to keep your architecture clean, your mind energy clean, you must have Rachma. He didn't say love your neighbor, love God as yourself. He said have Rachma when you think of the Creator, Rachma when you think of neighbor, and by so doing you maintain your human life. And Rachma is the filter that keeps the mind energy of love as the active governing substrate of your perception and of your physiology. And he goes on to say, upon this, upon Rachma, not upon loving your neighbor, not upon loving God as yourself, but upon Rachma hangs the law, the way it works, and all its prophets. If you want to understand what the law and the prophets say, you've got to look at them through a filter. The right filter will give you correct information. If your filter is hostility or fear, you'll look at the law and the prophets and you'll say, there are a bunch of bastards in there out to get me, and they're trying to send me to hell, and look what they've done, and oh, I'm going to become an atheist. Again, Yeshua would say it's all Greek to me, because it is. It's like so primitive. So, in essence, there is a filter in the frontal lobes of your brain. If you keep that filter active, as opposed to hostility or fear, then the output, the energies that will be available to construct your perceptual world and collapse into what becomes your physiology has to be based in love. If it's based in hostility, then it's going to be based in negativity. If it's based in fear, then it's going to be based in some sort of punishment. Negativity. So maintaining Rahma means that the substrate of your perception, the substrate of your world, the energy upon which it all hangs is now available to you because the gateway for it entering your human form is available. If that gateway is closed, you are going to make up. I mean, there are so many intellectual worlds that people can enter that are so bizarre and so crazy. I mean, go listen to QAnon, and there you've got people whose substrate is based in hostility and fear. Mindset will leave you stuck in a particular quality of world. The energetic patterns that come from hostility or fear are based in energies that, in Aramaic, the word they would use to describe them would be energies that are off the mark, that are not accurate for the actuality of what's here. And so through hostility and fear, we get a distortion. Remember, Paul talked about the distortion. He said, we see as though through a glass darkly. We're looking through a perceptual filter at a world constructed out of hostility or a world constructed out of fear, or both. Actually, they can't actually both be active at the same time, but they can change places in about a 25th of a second. And as you start to look at the fact that you have a genetic predisposition toward one of those three filters, depending on your genetic history and your upbringing. If it's hostility, if it's fear, then love seems to be void in the world. But love is not void in the world. Hostility or fear voids the presence of love in you. If it's Rahma, then it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. The substrate of your physiology, of your mind, of your perception is love. It's in alignment with the facts of what's behind the universe. And now we're talking about physics. And as I say, this gentleman who's a NASA scientist, quantum physicist, saying, it's 100 years later. Literally, this is what he says. 100 years later, and we still don't have an answer to the question that was raised by, well, if it's quantum world, if it's quantum physics and we can create an atomic bomb and therefore there's nothing physical, what is it? He's like just so straight up out there. There's no answer. The scientific world has not come up with the answer yet. And then, not having an answer to even start the question, where do you find the tools to straighten out a life? Well, if you go to the Aramaic, it's all there. And the tools start with the breath and end with the ability to remove mind energy that's based in hostility and fear. And the technology for removing mind energy that's based in hostility or fear in the first century Aramaic language was called forgiveness. And the Greeks took it over and bastardized it and turned it totally and completely backward. And now, if the substrate of my physiology and my perception is hostility or fear, of course, it's all your fault. So now the Greeks will tell me that I should forgive you. Please, never forgive anybody for anything. And people say, oh, yeah, that's right, I have to forgive myself. No, please never forgive yourself for anything. Because you can't. I mean, I kind of, in order to honor the language, I kind of have to say, like, you could forgive yourself for another, but you can't. It's not possible. This whole thing of letting other people off the hook for the fact that the substrate of your perceptual construct and in your physiology is a mind energy of hostility or fear, letting somebody else off the hook for that isn't going to change anything within you. So understand what that letting people off the hook is. It's pardoning, good thing, nice thing. Somebody does something crazy, let them off the hook. How cool is that? How nice are you? And now, if you haven't called that letting them off the hook forgiveness, you may have an opening to recognize, I've been through this experience 87 different times with 42 different people. Why are they doing this to me again? And I now can start to understand that it's happening to me again because I'm a creator with the mind energy that sets it up to happen over and over and over again. And now wisdom starts to enter. And I recognize that every time I'm holding my breath, and there's something painful, and there's something based in hostility or fear going on in me that collapse, I need to remove from that experience the energy that drives it so that that whole falsity collapses. Forgiveness collapses perception. Forgiveness nullifies the substrate of your physiology in that given moment. And it gives you an opportunity to drop into what's hiding beneath false perception. And as you collapse, and so, recognize, and I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but recognize that you and I aren't finished yet. I put us all in the same category. Have you successfully taken one traumatic experience that you swore was outside of you, and you maybe heard that it happened generation after generation in your bloodline, and are you finished with that? Is it gone from your life? Forgiveness works. It doesn't mean the first time you apply forgiveness you're done with it, or the second, or the 10th, or the 100th, or the 1,000th. It might not be till the 1,001 forgiveness process that you do that this one you're searching for collapses, and you'll be freed of it. But just keep doing your work, and as you'll notice, those things will gradually disappear. Remember, we're talking about energy. And so my experience of what happens with the first century Aramaic forgiveness process is that each time you forgive, you weaken the energetic architecture that underlies your perception and underlies the organized state and expression of your physiology. You weaken it. But if it's been going on for 1,000 generations, you might have to weaken it 1,001 times. Totally. So have faith in your work. Have you had one arena in which it worked for you? Great. Have you had one arena where you recognize that, oh, yesterday I'd have been in such terrible pain and trauma over that, and, I've been doing my work. I just did another worksheet on you saying, oh, man, I got it. Wow, I'm so free of that. So now you're free. You recognize, if you can recognize that you were free of one thing, recognize that you can become free of everything that's based in sin. Remember, the Aramaic word sin is an archery term. Simply means off the mark. This isn't theology. This isn't, mumbo jumbo. This is science. This is physics. This is physiology. If you listen to the man Yeshua in his native tongue, what you hear is a physicist speaking. You hear a psychologist speaking. You hear a geneticist speaking. You hear a physiologist speaking. And if when that atom bomb had been discovered and the understanding of quantum physics had opened, instead of still flopping around with no explanation, they're going, oh, we don't know, but we'll keep going. Mind energy is a substrate. Mind energy is behind everything you experience. And if the field of the mind energy is strong in you, remember Yoda, the force is strong in you. If the force for active present love is strong in you, it will transmute everything. If it is weak in you, then you have work to do, and your work is dual. One part of your work is to weaken the frequencies based in hostility and fear. You do that through forgiveness. The other part of the work is you strengthen the energetic experience of the presence of active love in you, so that on an instance, no matter what's going on in your world, you can bring forward not the world's mamby-pamby definition of love, something to do with sexual athletics or self-sacrifice, but you can bring forward the truth of your human beingness, which is love. You can bring it forward into your mind, into your heart, into your physiology, and you can originate new mind energy. It takes a new mind. In the ancient teachings, they called the new mind we were aiming for the mind of Christ. Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Yeshua. That Yeshua used a certain mind, and that same exact mind, all he was trying to do is say, here's how you get to it, folks. Here, Paul talked about that one too. He says, the mind of Christ in you. That is the mind that is based in love and therefore creates a substrate of mind energy that literally is the architecture for a human life, for actually living as a human being. And most people go, oh, I'd rather puke on somebody. Oh, I'm pissed. I'd rather just, destroy somebody else. Well, to each their own. But you'll notice if you've been through it 87 different times with 42 different people, you're the one that was there every time. It's your mind energy that is literally underlying everything that happens in and appears to happen to your physiology. Nothing happens to your physiology. Everything happens in your physiology according to the mind energy that you hold. And everything that would show you something based in pain, something based in hostility, something based in fear, something based in rage, is your opportunity to heal that. Jeanie and I got COVID back, I don't even know how long ago it is now, over a year ago. And I had worked with several people who had COVID before. We were fairly careful in the culture and how we, got around in the culture. Jeanie's dad was here. He was almost 90. And so we were pretty careful. But I'd worked with several people, and what I noticed was that when people got COVID, they went into some of their darkest mind energy, their darkest thoughts. And it was hard for them to shake loose of those things. They were intensified. And here's my take. Nobody has ever died of COVID or anything else. Nobody has ever died of COVID. However, COVID, so-called virus, they talk about killing a virus. You can't kill a virus. Nothing alive about a virus. A virus is just a piece of genetic information, just a piece of code. And if there are trillions of them. It's been if you do some research, viruses have been a very important part of our quote, growth or evolutionary process. They're just little packets of mind energy. And if some come along that are locked into the basest, most deeply destructive mind energy in someone, then if someone takes that energetic pattern in, it activates the deepest, darkest energetic patterns within them. And it's those activated, deepest, darkest energetic patterns that are in the process of killing somebody. Like, you got somebody that's 30 and they're going to, live to 70. It takes that long to kill them with all the darkness they carry, the hostility, the fear, the rage, the guilt, the grief, the drama, the trauma. Might take them 40 years to do it. A packet of mind energy comes along that intensify it all, and boy, in 6 months, they're dead. Were they killed by COVID? No. They were killed by their own darkness. And both Jeanie and I realized this when we got COVID. For both of us, there were like very specific traumatic things that we were both holding that since we had the tools and we were willing to go to work with it, COVID was a gift. It was healing. I had had a wheeze in my lungs. I should have been dead. The quote-unquote number of years I've been circling the earth. And the history of, they called my father the morning or the night that I was born and told him, you better get down here if you want to see this kid alive, because he's not going to live through the night. From lung problems. Oh, lung problems. Boy, there's where COVID goes. They're dead. Should have been dead. Guess what? The wheeze has been in my lungs for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. It was either the third or fourth day of COVID was gone. For the first time in my life. COVID was an upgrade in my lung health. No, Michael, that's not what happens. Well, it's not what happens if you don't know how to process what's coming up for you. Jeanie had been using an electrical stimulator for, I don't know how long, a couple of years, on her neck because of neck pain. I believe it was the third day. I don't remember which it was. Either hers was the third day and mine was the fourth, or mine was the third and hers was the fourth. But on the third or fourth day, her neck pain was gone. I mean, debilitating neck pain was gone, just done. Each one of us has a unique pattern of mind energy that is a combination of who we are as human beings, as created essence, and how we are able to bring that essence, which is love, forward into physiology and to generate mind energy based in love. And that combination includes generations upon generations upon generations upon generations upon generations of mind energy. If you just go back 30 generations, if you do the math, there are about 1.6 billion people in your bloodline. So when you realize that, and then you realize that one of the principles of physics, one of the principles of energy, is inertia. Inertia says that a body, remember from physics class in high school, a body moving in a particular direction at a particular rate of speed will tend to continue to move at that direction at that rate of speed until it's acted upon by an outside force. Inertia. Notice your ego, mine, all of us, we're moving in a particular direction. We have a way, people will look and go, oh yeah, that person's got a negative interpretation of everything that happens in their lives. Oh yeah, that person's positive. They're always, they always make lemons whenever they get, or they make lemonade when they get served lemons. How do you change that? It's called forgiveness. It's called entering into the practice of bringing your human beingness, your human presence of love forward into your physiology, in through your breath, so that it replaces whatever the genetic architecture of mind energy is, whatever the generations have been doing. Now you are freed from the desert. Remember that story of the Jews wandering in the desert? It had nothing to do with a hot, sandy place. These people knew they knew all about the skies. They knew where the sun came up and the stars and the moon, and they understood very well. And I promise you, they were not lost in a 35 square mile area for 40 years. The desert is nothing but a code word for the unconscious. Most people spend about the first 40 years of their lives in the desert, unconscious, not knowing that the architecture of their own physiology and their own lives, their own perceptual constructs, is based in the mind energy that they've been handed for generation upon generation upon generation. And the ability to either choose new mind energy, a spiritual choice, a spiritual ability to bring something different in, or they were stuck and locked in decisions. Whatever was structured into the structure took over and ran the system, and the historical diseases took them out, and the game just went on. Their relationships went like the historical relationships went, and that was just a game. You get to live in one of two places: the desert, unconscious, don't know which end is up, but here it's happening to me again, or you get to move into the promised land. And it's not about some mystical, beautiful, wonderful place on earth. That's not the promised land. The promised land is conscious co-creation, that you recognize that the underlying architecture of your life comes from your mind energy. And if your mind energy is of a disintegrative nature, again, archery term, sin, off the mark, that things deteriorate in your life, and they call it aging and dying. But it's not required. What if we gave up dying? What would you have to do to give up dying? You'd have to face and forgive every piece of mind energy that has ever killed anybody in your bloodline. That's what you'd have to do. So, go for it. Why not? It's like once you realize it's there to be done, what else is there to do? I mean, so you think money's going to rescue you? You think more of something, more, that's what's going to do it? No, it's not. So what do we choose to do with it? And I appreciate Tom Campbell, NASA quantum physicist, who kind of resonated this whole conversation for me today. Again, if you want to go back and check out, he'll probably, I plan to listen to this more than once again. He'll probably stimulate some things to you that will help you to create an intersect in your mind where your mind is able to generate higher and higher levels of understanding. So again, if you want to search it out, NASA, NASA quantum physicist, proves we live in a conscious simulation. Tom Campbell, thank you. Appreciate it. And, oh my goodness, it's 20 minutes too, so sweetie, we've got about 20 minutes for conversation. Do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
It's all quiet here. And I did put a link to that NASA YouTube in the notes for today.
Sweet. Awesome. Awesome. So if you're out there in listener land, that had to resonate something for you.
Got a
Call
hand
us and
up.
tell me what it resonated. Maybe you say, maybe you're going to tell me how crazy I am. Who knows? Okay, let's go ahead for the hand.
Okay, I believe it's Doug, 314. You're on the air.
Hey, Michael. That was quite...
hey, welcome, sir.
Quite a bit of information there. Hi. Thank you.
Hey. Well, you've been around the information long enough that would probably solidify a whole lot in brain cells for you.
That was good stuff, yeah. I've been wanting to kind of, as I've been doing some worksheets, like go into understanding, building more brain cells about certain concepts, and I just wrote this down as you were talking because I want to understand this dynamic better and go into it more. Forgiveness cleans up karma-based memory. And then I wrote, but also such Rachma. I'm not, like some of this, I'm not sure I have it exactly right. But
wait a minute. Back up a little bit. Tell me once again, you just gave me 2 ideas. Would you repeat those?
Yeah. First one was forgiveness cleans up carbon-based memory.
Right.
But also sets Rachma in the process.
That wouldn't be my take.
Rachma. Okay.
That wouldn't be my take. I
would
wouldn't
or would
say
not?
that forgiveness sets. I would offer forgiveness does not. Forgiveness does not set Rachma. Setting Rachma empowers forgiveness. So I put them the other way around. You want to have Rachma as you enter into the forgiveness process. If you just do forgiveness without Rachma, it's going to be, I would say, would be haphazard. You may get Rachma kicking in, you may not.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So well, yeah, I suppose, but yes, I mean, I accept. I'm trying to sort this through, but I'm like, okay, so how can I possibly achieve forgiveness without getting Rachma set? I mean, it's like, don't I have to have Rachma set in order to achieve? It's going to be difficult.
No, well, remember that I can engage in the forgiveness process. You know, the mechanical process of forgiveness without Rachma being set. Although, if you go to our worksheet, you know, the worksheet includes setting Rachma as a precursor to forgiveness. But, you know, the core of forgiveness, the how-to of forgiveness, its core is, I look at the goal that's driving my perception, and in order to collapse that construct of my mind, I cancel the goal. I can do that without having Rachma set.
Yes, but then, I'll say, I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to sort this out. So you set.
I got
it. But when you set Rachma, the reason for this conversation, of course, is for me to try and sort this out better, build this understanding more. And so like when you set the Rachma, as in the worksheet, isn't that what enables you to then change the content that you've surfaced? You need to hold love present while that content surfaces. If you don't have that, then you aren't effective. Would that be on the mark or not?
I wouldn't go quite that far. I wouldn't be that black and white about it, because, for instance, you know, you've been in an intensive where somebody was in their terror and their trauma and could not bring Rachma present, but there was somebody else in the space holding it for them, and that's what shifted the energy. So fortunately, we're not in this on our own.
Okay.
So if I don't have that skill, I can still collapse, you know, recognizing that what drives perception is our goals. You know, you notice that, and I'm saying this not for you because I know you already understand this, but for other listeners who might not be that acquainted with this material, that you'll notice that you're never upset unless you're just a generally miserable person, as long as everybody in your world is fulfilling all the goals you have for them. You're quite happy with everybody. But notice that the only time there's ever upset pointed at anybody is when they're not fulfilling the goal you have for them. What that, you know, the bottom line of what that means is that goals drive perception. You know, there's that Harvard research, and again, I know you know this, but I'm explaining it so that others who are maybe new to the conversation have more of the foundation pieces. So this Harvard research was done way back in the 50s, and it's probably, I mean, it still stands, and it's probably the most quoted research in psychological history, says that in a time frame where they can measurable 10,000 units of electrical activity in the brain, the maximum amount of data that goes into conscious awareness is 9 bits, a little tiny piece of it. Now, that being so, obviously something must determine which 9 bits of data my mind uses to build my perception, to be the substrate of my current personal reality. And if that's based in some form of hostility or fear, and my 9 bits is based in some form of hostility or fear, then I will have a disease process in the tissue that's sourcing that energy. And I'll only get to see the very tip of the iceberg. Underneath it is all the drama and trauma that creates the disease and the emotional upset. When I cancel the goal, that whole construct collapses in on itself and at least momentarily gives me access to the underlying energy. If love is present in me, or someone else is there holding a space of love for me, then processing happens. And processing, once again, we define as the ability to hold love conscious, active, and present when something less than love comes up. And what happens when we go into processing is that the conscious activity of present love dissolves or transmutes the underlying energy of sin, the underlying energies that are off the mark, whether those are energies that are ours personally or maybe came from an experience 10 generations ago in regard to any particular situation. And so, you know, when people come to an intensive and it's their first time and they have no idea of all of this, how do I hold blood pressure? I don't have a clue how that happens. So, gee, you know, there are 50 other people in the room that are holding the space, at least to the degree they can for you. And each person is supported in their healing. You know, for me, there's a really crisp explanation of that in the scriptures where the woman who has the 12-year issue of blood knows that all she needs to do is touch the hem of Yeshua's garment in order to be healed. And touching the hem of his garment doesn't mean touching a piece of cloth. It means entering the field of his active present love. And we can be that hem of the garment for ourselves and for each other. So yes, I might cancel the goal, and I might have no idea what it is to hold love present. I don't even know that's what I am. But if someone's there holding a space, then I'm going to have an experience, and that experience is going to lead to deepening awareness. Until bingo, I realize, oh, this is who I am. This is what is me. And now I start to live in my own mind, in my own body, and my own perception, whatever quality it is, and I move deeper and deeper into the healing process. Does that help to solidify what you're wanting to make sense of?
That sounds, that makes perfect sense to me now. So I would say that love is essential to forgiveness process, love being present. But it's not necessarily rock must set in the mind of the person doing the forgiveness is not a requirement. But love being present in the situation is a requirement.
Yes.
So love is.
Pardon me. I don't know that I'd make it that absolute. I think that if I were to enter into the forgiveness process with no awareness of love, but at least be able to collapse my pained perception, perhaps without knowingly bringing love present, and would it be the activity of love or wouldn't, I don't know, but I may start to be able to, sort of work through some things and start to get more conscious as love. But if I'm stuck in a world, stuck in a mindset, stuck in a family system, stuck in a community system, stuck in a cultural system of, we just do rage and fear and trauma and terror and blame, and it's all everybody else's fault, and look what they're doing to us, and boy, we better fight against that. If I live in that, then chances are I'm not going to get much recovery from anything I do. But if I'm just starting to learn to cancel my goals and collapse my perception, just, if I just leave myself in a quiet space for just 20 seconds, there's a great, when you look at the core instruction in the Course in Miracles on forgiveness, what it says is, let go all the things you think you want, your trifling treasure, your goals, put away, cancel your goals, and leave a clean and open space within your mind for Christ to come, for the presence of love to come. That mind of Christ is in each and every one of us. So I think even if we're not cognizant of, I got to bring love present and I'm going to do all that and I am love, by canceling the goal, I think I wouldn't want to be as solid a statement of it has to be the presence of love, that I bring consciously in some way, but just the fact that I've left the space, that I've collapsed the construct of my mind, even for a few seconds, that higher mind steps in, I think. I think there's it's at least creating the conditions, creating the space for that to happen.
So creating, okay, so what I'm seeing is all the absolutes probably have to go, but basically the idea here is that if you open the space by canceling the goal, shifts can occur, and it would seem to me that some level of love, whether it's the nature of the love that's in us, the nature of love that's outside of us, our truth itself is going to be responsible for somehow being involved in that correction. Would that be
right? Shift happens,
and it's born of Rakma on some of Rukadakucha on some level.
Yes.
The higher direction is coming from somewhere.
Yeah, and the fact that you introduced that might be a new concept for people who are listening, so we'll just fill in the step. If you're doing the forgiveness worksheet process, you start out by laying out whatever the trauma is about in step one. Then you acknowledge your willingness to heal and to deal with whatever needs to be processed. You identify the goal that's driving the perceptual construct. You choose in the next step to bring love present. And then once you've brought love present, you cancel the goal and you invite this, what we would call in our modern computer world, super processor that's within every one of us, to start to move this energy. In Aramaic it was called, as Doug just mentioned, Rukadakucha. And by definition, Rukadakucha is a feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of our errors and teaches us the truth. So there's this super processor in us that literally can reach through all time, through all space, through all generations, through all physiology, through all effects, and lift those effects. Very definitely a super processor. And so that's, once one's canceled the goal on the worksheet, then the next step is to invite that power, whatever you choose to call it. Is it the higher power, the superconscious, the subconscious, the primordial X, or the words that the Greeks used to describe it is the Holy Spirit. But there's nothing there about a disembodied spirit being. It literally is this power, it's been called in AA circles, it's called the higher power. Am I willing to turn it over? Like I don't know how to do this on my own. Am I willing to turn it over? That may be one of the most important steps, is my willingness to say, I don't know how to deal with this, but I'm willing to turn it over and invite that power to go to work.
Right. So in the past, this is working. I'm getting more of what I want, which is building deeper layer of brain cells about this. But it's a long way to go. But I am, and I feel like I've gone a long way, but then I still want to go deeper. And so this is where the questions are. And when I've in the past associated Ruka, the Kucha, as an element of love or having a relationship, I'm curious about how would we express the relationship of Ruka the Kucha with love. I have sort of seen it as an expression of an element of love or a part of God. It's the feminine elemental force, but that falls into the category of being associated with God and love to me, but maybe they're different things. I'm just opening that question.
One of my thoughts is it would be good to dig out your Laws of Living book and go looking at the dictionary definitions in the Enlightenment book that's part of the course and start getting deeper into that whole conversation.
Okay.
So if you remember, the book Enlightenment was included with your Laws of Living course. So you might go in and just start looking at the definitions there.
Was the book Enlightenment the translated part of the Khabouris manuscript, or is that something different?
Yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay.
No, that's it.
And it has those definitions in it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So for now, we're not going to try and...
In fact, this might be a perfect space for you to dig that out and start to go through and do the whole laws of living. With these questions in your mind, you will reach a whole new pinnacle if you go through and do that material. You know, I look at the fact that for me, you know, I sourced that at least co-sourced that course and have taught it at least once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a year for 40 years. And I'll tell you that the last time I taught it, I mean, I spent hours incorporating new notes and new understandings in my own mind's ability to construct realities that went, oh, that's what that means. Oh, now I see. I didn't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear that before, but now I have the brain cells. With these questions in mind, Doug, that's going to have a whole different meaning to you.
All right. I'll try and see if I can dig that out.
And, you know, you've got a whole set of 90 hours of videos from the Codependence Intensive. Again, with these questions in mind, go back and start from minute 1. I don't know. You've probably got some personal code evaluations still available. And if you do, all you do is sign into the letter YAGIN.com, use your username and password, and do a personal code evaluation. I'm pretty sure you must, with the number of intensives you've done, you probably got one there. Send me a text or send Jeanie a text. We'll mark it up and give you some feedback on where your next level of work is. And I would suggest going back and starting with the first hour of those 90 hours of videos in the Codependence Workshop and go back through them. And you're gonna look at it and go, oh God, I never did this before. Where did this come from? I promise.
Sure, that's true.
I promise you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Okay.
Good questions, my friend.
Yes, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, we are. It's going to cut us off any
another time. All right.
All right.
Thank
Lots
you.
of love. Blessings. Okay. Everybody, thanks
Bye.
for joining us. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world.